Hello and welcome to another edition of For the Record. I'm Sean Murphy. It is that time of year again where we chat with the fine folks from the Mystic Blues Festival. I got the top dog on me for the first segment. Chris Lee's a musician and co-founder of the Mystic Blues Festival. We went to your house last year. This year you come to our house. We will get back to your house for the show, but welcome, by the way.
Thank you, Sean.
For those who are unfamiliar with it, unfortunately, and have not experienced the Mystic Blues Festival, what is it?
Well, the Mystic Blues Festival is an event that we dreamed up 3 years ago, coming back from seeing James Cotton at Bridge Street Live, a group of friends. And we ended up sharing the idea with our friends in Mystic, and we had a lot of support for the idea. We're trying to highlight a lot of the great talent that we have in southeastern Connecticut and South County, Rhode Island, as well as bring in some national and internationally recognized blues artists.
And they come from a long way to participate in this show too. And I want to talk about you as a musician for a second too. Talk about some of your background.
I'm local. I grew up in Noank. I went to Connecticut College in New London and studied music there. And I've played regionally, my entire adult life. I've played with Eight to the Bar. I'm currently playing with the Shiny Lapel Trio right now, and I freelance and play with other people as well.
What is it about the blues and to gather people together, musicians and lovers of the music genre? And it's also a festival too, not just music, but it's an event, a day, a fun day, or actually days, I should say.
Yeah, well, all 3 days, we'll be featuring, like I said, a local, regional, and national acts. And the blues is a unique American art form. It's the foundation upon which rock and roll, jazz, and hip hop, all of our popular American musical styles can be traced back to blues.
And this year, there's a little something different. Every year, how long have you been doing it for now?
Well, we're going into our third year this year.
And every year there's always a few tweaks and some ways that it kind of morphs into something else. And this year, very interesting to me because there's it kind of not relies heavily, but focuses on students. So I want you to talk about that.
Well, a part of my background is a teacher. I have a business, String Theory School of Music in Niantic. Teaching has been a very important part of my life, and part of what the festival's mission is to not only entertain the audience, but to educate the audience and also get students in to participate. So we will have a separate student stage this year where we'll have kids performing, but also adults that are learning about the music and studying it as well.
Do you think blues is lost on kids? They're kind of interested in other stuff, and is this a way of kind of, you're not asking them to necessarily like it, but expose them to it and let them make their choices and the decisions?
Well, I think that the kids that are picking up instruments and playing today invariably find themselves, listening back. In the same way that I did as a kid getting into blues-based rock like Led Zeppelin. The track is, all of that music was inspired by blues artists. If you listen to the Rolling Stones or any of the British Invasion bands, they'll all say that they got their inspiration from American blues artists. And so I think kids are also hip to that. I think that when they're listening to their music today, there's an element of blues there as well, and they go back and they find that influence.
And if they don't, they may not even realize that the music that they like that doesn't necessarily, or at least they think doesn't have any relation or correlation to blues. Wrong, it does. Maybe the artists themselves can attribute to some of their stylings to maybe a blues artist from the past or something. The kid didn't even realize it, and like you said, learned something from it, right?
Absolutely. When I teach, I always bring blues into the lessons because it allows students to not only learn songs and learn musical history, but it also gives them this opportunity to improvise and to learn how to express themselves that way.
When you see like school curriculums cutting out the arts and music and things like that, that's got to be kind of disappointing and disheartening for you when you hear that, right?
Yeah, I mean, the arts are important because they teach students how to think abstractly and creatively, and I think that's an important part of our future, in this country.
as a society in general too. What's the state of blues these days, in your opinion?
Well, I think blues music in popular culture gains recognition in cycles. There have been, blues revivals, throughout the years. The '80s were a big blues revival. Stevie Ray Vaughan brought blues back into popular culture. Robert Cray, and I think we're on an upswing right now. There are a lot of new popular artists like Gary Clark Jr. that are bringing blues music back to young people. Robert Randolph is another great example of a young artist that is bringing blues music and gospel-based music to popular culture.
I would be remiss without asking you, since it just happened fairly recently, the passing of B.B. King. Your thoughts?
Well, B.B. King, he of all of the blues artists that we can talk about, is probably the household name that most people, would recognize. And, he was a champion of the music and a road warrior, was out there playing virtually up until he passed. So, I think everybody that loves blues music has a heavy heart, that he's passed on. But, I mean, he contributed something to American culture.
Talk about how you work with the Center for Hospice Care, because it's not just necessarily a music festival. There's sort of we'll call it like a wing or a branch of the Mystic Blues Festival that people might not know about. So I wanted you to mention that.
Well, we are in support of the Center for Hospice Care. Myself and a bunch of the other organizers of the festival have had personal dealings with that organization, with our loved ones, and we felt like we wanted to support their outreach and and have them on site so they can also talk about what their goals are for the community.
And you have a sort of a captive audience there, so they'll be there listening to hearing what they have to say. What I want you to do for me is paint a picture, because the Mystic Blues Festival, just in its name, festival, it's not necessarily just a concert, right? It's not just a day to go hang out in front of a stage or go and eat food, although I'm sure there'll be some of that there. It's a festival, many different events, fun things to do. So sort of paint a picture for us.
Well, in addition to having the student stage, there'll be a few clinicians, people there talking about blues music. We'll also have vendors on site, and a sampling of different restaurants and food trucks there.
I'll be there.
And also we'll have a nice selection of beers and wines on site as well.
And there's some other interesting things to talk about, like, for example, one of the things we mentioned off the air was the mural project. Talk about that.
The Art Miles Mural Project is something that was started by Joanne Tofilis. She worked with UNESCO at the United Nations. She started the project when she was involved with kids in the Balkans, and it was a way to get kids there to express their feelings and some of the deep emotions that they were going through during that conflict. She continued the project when she moved back to the States and was here, and saw that it was a unifying kind of thing that all people could do, and her goal was to promote peace and through people of diverse backgrounds getting together and painting murals.
All right, let's get back to music for a second, because you have the full lineup in front of you. Yep. Talk about some of the groups, some of the bands, and the artists that'll be performing.
Okay, well, Friday night we're going to have Green Tea play. They are a band, local band that won Best Local Band at the Mohegan Sun, and the very talented group of guys that play original music. They're going to be with the Water Street Quartet that evening, and also the New London Horns. Excited about having them. Saturday we have Professor Harp. Professor Harp is from the Boston area. He's got a unique show. He runs his harp through an amplifier and gets sort of an organ sound out of it.
Wow.
He's a wonderful singer as well. We also have from the Boston area Lisa Marie and Johnny Juxo, and they have a really unique act. Johnny Juxo plays piano but also accordion and accompanies Lisa, who's a fantastic singer. We have Bad News Barnes and the Brethren of the Blues. Bad News Barnes is Chris Barnes. He is an actor, musician, entrepreneur. He's an interesting guy. He's appeared on 30 Rock and Saturday Night Live and Seinfeld, but he's also a blues musician as well. And he does a style of blues which he calls hokum blues, which is, you know, very, very animated, show busy kind of presentation. And he comes in with a big band with horns. I'm excited about having him. Greg Sherrod Blues Band is also performing. Greg is a great performer from the New Haven area. He just released a CD and was featured in the New Haven Arts paper. Excited about being with him. I'm performing with him this year.
Nice. Well, that's a nice mix of a grouping of music all 3 days too. How do you go about getting the acts? I mean, and how far in advance do you start? Hey, let's do my show this year. What do you think? How does that work?
Well, it's a series of conversations with people, and you know, we're trying to put together a balanced presentation that includes our local folks and also our national acts. In addition to the folks I mentioned, we're going to have Neil Vitullo and the Vipers. Neil's one of my favorite guitar players. He's been playing in this area for 40 years. And then we have Jay Stolman and Debbie Davies. Debbie Davies is a virtuoso blues guitar player. She opened for James Cotton our first year. And then on Saturday, The Wait. The Wait is essentially the band. It's Jim Weeder and some other guys that also played in the band and played with Levon Helms and Rick Danko.
Very nice. So again, it's June 26th, 27th, 28th, Mystic Blues Festival. I'm excited about it. Is there a website for people to go and learn more if they want to find out anything, get tickets in advance, anything like that?
Yes. You'd go to mysticbluesfestival.com. You can get tickets online, and there's also a list of local businesses that are selling paper tickets as well. And I'd be remiss not to talk about our Sunday lineup.
Okay, go for it.
So on Sunday we have Muzzy Horn. He's a blues artist who works in Europe. He's going to be here for the weekend, which I'm looking forward to. Also, Paul Gabriel from Bridgeport. Paul just released an album a year ago that was produced by Duke Robillard that did very well on the blues charts. And then Greg Piccolo and Heavy Juice is going to be performing. Greg is a founding member of Roomful of Blues, and he's had his own band for 20 plus years. Been performing, here and regionally and nationally. He's also been performing with Jimmy Vaughn. Just recently opened for Robert Cray at the Guard Theater.
Nice.
So we're excited about having him. And also the Knickerbocker All-Stars are performing. And the Knickerbocker All-Stars is a collection of guys that, are either former Roomful musicians like Al Copley and Rich Latai, but we have Fran Christina, former drummer for the Thunderbirds, Fabulous Thunderbirds. We have also Bob Christina, his brother, performing. He played with the Radio Kings. Brian Templeton is a great singer who sang with James Cotton. And as our special guests, we have James Montgomery and Christine Ullman from the Saturday Night Live band.
Nice, very nice. Now, people, big fans of this event and blues fans in general, will they go for all 3 days and just experience the whole festival for the long weekend, or can people enjoy themselves if they can only make one day? Are they missing out on a lot?
Absolutely. I think that it would be best if they went all 3 days.
Right. So much to do.
Absolutely, and a lot of great music to hear. And I think that a fan could go any of those days and have a great time.
Sounds good. We're looking forward to it. Chris Lee is a musician himself, obviously, and he'll be performing at the Mystic Blues Festival, June 26th, 27th, and 28th. Pleasure having you on the show. We look forward to the festival.
Sean, thank you.
All right. We'll take a break and come right back. I'm Sean Murphy. This is For the Record. Stay with us.
Mystic. Thank you.
Welcome back to For the Record. I'm Sean Murphy. An exciting event is coming up. It's the Mystic Blues Festival. It is happening at the Mystic Shipyard. It's important to know where it's at so that you can go and enjoy and have fun. Greg Piccolo, a legend, blues legend. It says regional blues legend in my notes, but that's doing a disservice to you. Regional, you're a blues legend, period. Everywhere you go, and thank you for joining me today.
I'm glad you think so, and I'm glad to be here.
You founded the band Heavy Juice, but that was one of about 1,000 bands that you've somehow, some way participated with, playing, singing, writing, just organizing in some event. Tell me about your life, sir, your professional
I started
life.
when I was 13 years old, and I've been playing for 51 years. And I think the story goes, my mother said to me, "Why don't you start a band?" And I said, "Okay."
She just wanted you to get out of the house or
she
something,
doesn't,
right?
She doesn't say that's true, but that's how I remember it. And we were like a bunch of monkeys trying to type Shakespeare in a room for about 3 or 4 weeks before we made
got
anything
it, though.
that sounded like music. But
Yeah, look where you are now, though. You got it. You figured it out,
so I joined Roomful, and I stayed with them for 25 years. I loved it. It was a great band, and we traveled all over the place. We were on the road like B.B. King, 300 nights a year plus, and we did it. And we listened to the same music together. We traveled together in a vehicle, and we all listened to the same music, and that's how we developed the style that we had. We just tuned everything else out except what we were interested in.
I want you to be a big-time name dropper for me right now. I want you to tell me about some of the big names that you have worked with. We could do a whole show just on that,
Well, the things that I remember that mean a lot to me, we got to perform on stage with Count Basie. We got to back up some of the people that we really loved, that we respected, that may not be as well known to the general public. People like Jimmy Witherspoon, Big Joe Turner, Eddie Cleanhead Vinson, Red Prysock, Syl Austin, Helen Humes, who used to sing, was a singer from the 30s that she played with Basie, Ellis Larkins, piano player, great jazz piano player. So those things, that's what means the most to me. But I've gotten to play with a lot of
Big
people
names.
who are more well known, and I've been on stage with Clapton, and that was kind of the only time I was ever felt like
Nervous?
a little
Or-
kid.
oh, yeah?
Because he was, when I was 13 years old, I listened to the Blues Breakers, and I loved his sound on that record. And to be up there with Clapton, he was sitting in with Roomful in New York, and he sat in with us all night. It was great, and it was like I was really awestruck struck by that. Played with Pat Benatar for a while in the early 90s. She made a blues record.
Yeah.
And, it was a really great record called True Love.
They just decided to go in another direction, at least for that record, that album, right?
Yeah, her piano player, Charlie Giordano, knew about us, and they were having some issues with rhythm section issues, I guess, and he just recommended, he knew that we could do what needed to be done. And
I'm not sure how
involved in this.
commercially successful that album was, but I mean, they sounded great on it,
For a blues record, it was very,
Oh, that's a good
very
point.
successful.
Because of the name attached to it, right?
She sold 500,000 copies.
That's really good, yeah.
That wasn't good for her.
Right. For your typical blues artist, right?
Yeah.
I give you credit for mentioning those names that aren't the your mainstream names, but like you said, to you, they mean a lot.
Yeah, and I played with I played at Carnegie Hall with Stevie Ray Vaughan.
Nice.
I played with Jimmy from time to time. I was with him for a few years, from 2010 to 2012 or 13 or something like that. And that was really great, because I love Jimmy, Stevie's brother, Jimmy Vaughan, and stylistically, he's if I had to pick one, I'd pick Jimmy.
Right.
I call him the Louis Armstrong of the guitar. He doesn't waste any notes. He's got great tone, and he knows.
I'll ask you this question. I asked Chris in the last segment: the passing of B.B. King and how it affected you and what he meant to you.
Well, I mean, B's not gone.
Yeah, I mean,
You
for
know,
his
I
music
really,
lives forever. Yeah.
I think that he's been failing for a while, and it's sad to see him not be here. But he pretty much got to work until the end, which is I want to drop dead on stage. I'll be happy that way or the other way.
I know
The other good way to go.
Yeah, right.
And so
That's a different
I've
show.
always thought that that's good. And so he got to be B.B. King until the day he died. And his music, he's recorded so many albums, and
He was doing commercials right to the very end. You know, doing regular commercials like for Visa or somebody like that, or something. He was just commercial. It was amazing. He was still working. How, as a musician, especially one as big as you are, how important is this to this area and these type of events, the Mystic Blues Festival? How is important? How important is it to the music genre, the people that are in the business, and just the people that can experience it?
It's very important. And, you know, the thing about the music world today is that there's either you're nothing or you're everything. There's no in between anymore. It's so hard for the artists in the middle area to make a living at it.
That's a good point. You know, you have your big casino concerts for the big mainstream names, but you know, music festivals in the summer at a place like the Mystic Shipyard. That's something.
Yeah, you can have some fun.
Yeah, absolutely. Good times. Now, what is your schedule like there specifically as far as what your performances?
I'm playing on Sunday afternoon at 3 o'clock. The night before, I'm playing in Oklahoma with Jimmy Vaughn.
Oh, so you're really got nothing going on then, you know?
No.
Wow, that's amazing.
Nothing between noon when I get back and 3 o'clock.
You might try to sneak a little sleep in if you can too.
Yeah, I'll be ready for it.
June 26th, 27th, 28th at the Mystic Shipyard. It is the third annual Mystic Blues Festival. We were there last year, very excited again this year too. I look forward to seeing you, Chris, everybody else. Thank you for being on the show today. We look forward to the festival.
My pleasure, my honor.
All right. Well,
Thank
it's
you,
my
Sean.
honor, sir. Greg Piccolo, the blues legend who was the founder of the band Heavy Juice and will be a part of the Mystic Blues Festival coming up. That is our show for today. You can see this show and many others on our YouTube sites. Until next time, I'm Sean Murphy. This is For the Record. Take care.